Hello and happy Friday, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's new episode of Breakfast with Boom. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL, and we have an absolutely astounding show for you today. We have our good friend Korkenstein returning to his seat. We've kept it warm all these weeks that he was away. He'll be returning on a regular basis starting in September, which is great. Silent Cypher might be in here. They were doing some work on his services over midnight, and I don't know if they're back yet. But if we don't get him here today, he'll be back in a couple of weeks, as he does. And of course, we have Fuzzy Belvedere here. We're going to get to the intros in a second. So listen, there's a lot going on. Still, of course, Gamescom 2024 is in full swing. It's day 3 for Xbox, and it's actually day 1 for general population to ascend onto the big campus, if you will, of where it's being held. We saw a lot of coverage from Xbox Era. We saw a lot of coverage from, of course, Kay Asante is going to be putting stuff on his channel. He's actually back in the Netherlands. He'll be back here. He'll be doing a show on Saturday. So the Gaming Circle podcast will, in fact, have an episode, and that's great. So we're going to get to hear some of his ongoing stories. So today, what are we covering today? Well, we're going to open up with some Concord news, and it's not good. Eurogamer wrote a story that was very unflattering to Concord. The game released. I don't know if it has any players. It's a lot of news came out. The game has been in development for 8 years, which is a bit shocking. And that game, unfortunately, and again, I'm using the words of Eurogamer. They literally sent this game out to die, which is terrible. It's terrible for the team that really wanted to make this something special. They're developers. That's what they. When you make a game, you don't make the game to suck. You make the game for people to play and enjoy. And I've heard some. Again, I'm not going to play it. I know that a lot of people saying that it's pretty good. I'm not impressed by what I see, but I'm also not a hero shooter guy. We're gonna cover that, and we'll get everyone's opinion on where that game actually goes, and what, more importantly, what happens to the studio, because this game was in development for 8 years. Now Sony's stuck with the bill because they own the studio. Let's hope that the studio doesn't get closed, because ultimately that's what Sony does. They're known for that. And that'd be devastating, because it'd be just another studio closed in the industry. And one of the things, like I said, I keep talking about it because I never want us to forget how terrible of a year this has been for game development layoffs. Again, I say only, I'm not being facetious. We're in the 8th month of the year, right? We're almost at the end of it. And we've had more layoffs in the first 6 months than overall 2023. That's terrifying, especially if you are someone that lives in California, where prices are just unbelievable. They really are. So let's hope that does not happen to this studio. We're going to get into some Shattered Space details. We got a lot of them. Obviously, the big update with the vehicle, it's there. I haven't played it as of yet. I'm still playing Alien Isolation. I just rolled credits this morning, and now I'm playing through the DLC. Wow, man, I can't believe I did not play this game. Like, I played it, but I didn't play through it. And 10 years later, it's one of my favorite games of the year, and it's a decade old. It's crazy. They're old games, folks. Who would have thunk it, right? And of course, we're going to get into some Avowed stuff. Now, of course, it wouldn't be Xbox without Controversy, because that's just what Xbox has been the last couple of, I would even say that, good part of the year. It's always controversy with Xbox. 30 frames per second has been confirmed right now. I personally think I have a thought as to why it's going to have a performance mode at 60 when it releases in February. And I do think that is something that is happening. That's just an opinion. It is not fact. But what I do have, and what I want us to watch live on the air, is footage captured by Destin Legary for IGN. Now, I don't normally like to use IGN stuff, well, for a lot of reasons, but this was really good. And whether you like Destiny or you don't, I do. I'm a fan of the work. I watch his stuff. Whenever it goes live, I get the notification and I watch it, just like a lot of people's stuff. And he obviously does work well. He works for IGN, and it was 8 minutes, 36 seconds. It was a great capture. He broke it down, great gameplay. It looked really good. great points of view. So we're going to use that. And of course, because I'm a gentleman, and so was he, by the way. I actually have already reached out to Destin to let him know that, of course, on today's show, I will be using his footage because that's what gentlemen do. But let's get into the introductions. Korkenstein, welcome back, kind sir. How you feeling?
Hey, doing good, doing good. Just got off work pretty much, and then figured I'd jump on, say hello to all the beautiful people out there, your awesome community, and catch up with you guys.
Well, we're happy to have you back. Happy to have you coming back on a regular basis in September. Can't wait to hear your opinions on the three topics we're going to get into. Fuzzy Belvedere, you've been a busy man. You've been here, there, and everywhere on every podcast. Welcome back, dude. How you feeling?
Oh, I'm feeling great. Glad to be here with you guys. Man, just some stuff I missed over this past week, but man, just so many good things from Gamescom and otherwise. Yeah, can't wait to get into these topics.
Well, listen, let's open up with Concord. This is a game that is not something that I would play. It is a hero shooter. Unfortunately, it is a hero shooter that's launching into a realm of, hero shooters. 2024 has a lot of them. Some are popular, some come out when you don't hear about them. Why I think that this stands out more as not good is for Sony. We know that this particular studio was purchased with the idea. I would imagine that they were purchased. And again, this is just an opinion. I don't have like paperwork in front of me as to why and who actually said, yeah, we got to buy them. They were purchased because an ideology within Sony Interactive Entertainment, more specifically PlayStation, had changed. Sony realized that, yes, they do make incredible games, and they do. No, there's no mistaking it. They make great single-player games. If they're not your bag, I understand, but that's why I have a PlayStation. The problem with that is that, again, it's used as console war rhetoric. That's not what it's being used for here. These one-and-done games sell initially, and then they flatline. The market, and of course, just gaming as a whole, is changing rapidly. And games as a service is something that you need to have to generate income through microtransactions, through season passes, you name it. Any way to make money, they need to figure it out. Sony thought that this was going to be one of those games for them. This is one of 12 that were announced. We know that at least 6 of them have been canceled. The ones that have been canceled, I'm gonna be honest with you, I would have played every one of them. I don't get it, but it is what it is. So this is one of the things that they have left standing. The other game that I think is gonna flop also, unfortunately, because it's very samey, and that is Jade Raymond's game, which is kind of like a Payday ripoff. I hate to say it, that game has a potential to fail also, but we don't know. We'll have to see. But Concord, I don't think it stands a chance. I just don't think it does. And I say that using an article today that was posted, of course, by Eurogamer. And let me bring that up, gentlemen, and I'll tell you exactly what it says here. Okay, so it's obviously Eurogamer.net. It was written by Chris Tapsell. He is apparently the deputy editor there. It was published today, and the title of the article says, "A Spare Thought for Poor Concord, a kind and earnest shooter sent out to die." That is the title from Eurogamer, who is very PlayStation focused. Obviously, Europe is very PlayStation focused. The previews and the beta did not see a significant amount of success, which kind of already set the game up to fail. This, unfortunately, is bad news for Sony because they were depending on this IP, this new IP, to be an IP that, makes money for them. And based on it's not just Eurogamer, just a general consensus, it's just not good for the game. And that's bad for the developers because, again, what happens if this game fails after being in development for 8 years? Fuzzy, let's go to you first on this. Again, hero shooters are not my bag, but I say that with an asterisk because after seeing Marvel Rivals, holy freaking cow, I am playing that game and I'm using Captain America. I want to use Venom. Scarlet Witch looks dope AF. And all heroes are going to be available upon launch. Like, that's bonkers. Did you see the video with Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier? He had an arm that looked like almost tendrils from from Venom. Like, yeah. Wow. Yeah, so that game is going to get my money because I'm going to buy Captain America outfits. I'm in because I'm a Marvel stan. I don't apologize for it. When you have a game like that releasing this year, and you have a game that is and again, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but a lot of people, and I agree, seem to believe that Concord is kind of like a Guardians of the Galaxy kind of fake, if you will. The characters, for me, look, I looked at all the characters. They're very unappealing. This should have been a free-to-play game. It's not. You had to buy the game, and that is ultimately what's going to kill it. The greed of Sony, not realizing and understanding what gas games are supposed to be and how they're supposed to operate, is why the game is going to fail. Let's get your hot take on the article, and then more important, let's get your hot take on your thoughts on Concord. It released to basically a whimper.
Blame Bungie. That's all I got to say. No, seriously.
No, you know what? I know who's actually to blame. It's called the Xbox Series S. That is the culprit here. God damn it.
Yeah, the potato strikes again. No, it's weird to me for the fact that even when they showed this in its state of play and everything, it had Marvel Rivals in that same one, and it was free to play. There's more. I wouldn't say there's more excitement, but there's a little bit more buzz on Frag Punk, which it's another hero shooter, but at least it's free to play. I don't know. I really wish at this point Bungie would have been silenced sooner, or just kept focus on what they're supposed to be doing themselves, as opposed to shooting down things like what was that, Factions, or the Spider-Verse game that was supposed to launch or something. This one, I hope for the best for the devs, because we know how Sony is. I mean, we're looking at Bungie possibly being absorbed within the Sony studios and things like that. So I just hope for the best for them. For those that are playing, I think we have numbers similar to what we saw on Lawbreakers. And I kind of said that from get-go. If this thing does any better than Lawbreakers, I guess that's a win to some extent. But they probably should have went with this being a co-op fake Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, I think that would have probably had more traction and more success as far as skins or things along those lines, in comparison to just doing another hero shooter. I mean, Overwatch is still king, even though people love to hate it or hate to love it or whatever you want to call it. It's still doing numbers, even after it's pissed off a good bit of its fan base by doing a Overwatch 2 to kind of reset things and then not delivering on the single player aspect. So it's going to be a steep hill for them. If they could find a way to have characters that are similar to Overwatch 2, that may have appealed. Like, and it's not to shame character models or anything like that, but we kind of have an idea of why some of Overwatch had its success early on in comparison to a lot of the other hero shooters. But this one, it just feels bland, and maybe time will
a little bit, to be honest.
Yeah, maybe time will help the devs cater to the audience that they find. But for right now, like I said, I hope for the best for Firespark, or whatever that studio is called. If they're around in a year, kudos to them. But I just have a feeling this has a 6 to 8 month lifespan as far as the servers being live before we either hear cutbacks or things like that. It'd be great if I'm wrong, but I don't see this as being the thing that will be PlayStation's go-to gas game. Like, if anything, PlayStation should have probably focused more so on Helldivers 2.
Yep.
Found a way to incentivize PC players to do the PSN. If they couldn't do that with free skins or free cosmetics, season rewards and things like that, I don't know what will. But this game, I don't think it's going to have much of a lasting power, much like Foam Stars or even Destruction All Stars, and that platinum game that lasted like I think a whole 6 months before they shut the servers down, and GameStop started giving away the disc for like $1 or a quarter or something along those lines. So we'll see, but pray for the devs. That's all I can say.
Look, it's unfortunate, especially. I mean, again, if you would have asked me how long the game is in development, I would have never guessed 8 years. That's a long time, and I'm sure that the game has seen a lot of changes. Now, originally, and I read this, and I can't confirm it because, again, I just read it online. Don't believe everything you read online. That this game was originally supposed to be like a single player game, and it was made into this hero shooter. I don't know how true that is. But again, they're trying to release Korkenstein into a field of IPs that are rich with already a ton of players, but established IPs. It's very hard to look. I think it's safe to say, Korkenstein, that it's just hard to launch a video game at all. Whether it be a hero shooter, whether it be an indie, Metrovania, any type of game that you're going to release, there are challenges. In the gas game field right now, there are a lot of mains. You have Warzone, you have Apex Legends, you have Overwatch, you have PUBG still doing its thing, and there are a ton more. And this is releasing into a field that not only has a bunch of heavies, but you're trying to sell this game instead of let people play this game for free, which is exactly the definition of what a gas game is supposed to be. It's free to play with back-end microtransactions like skins. And unfortunately, the problem that immediately jumps off the page for me is the unappealingness of the characters. They seem very samey. They're like, I've seen, oh, that one looks like Drax, or this one looks like a Gamora, or this one looks like a Star-Lord. They could have. I mean, again, this is their designs. I'm not an artist. You want to see my art? It's going to be a stick figure. You're going to laugh at me. It's fine. I'm not an artist, but I'm also not a game designer. So ultimately, I do feel bad for Firewalk because Sony, I mean, they are who they are, and they close studios like you change your shoes. And unfortunately, if this game comes out and it's flatlined from day one, it's not good. Real quick, Sith Lord, who's been a channel member for 28 months. Thank you so much, Sith. Super appreciate that. He says, I feel really bad for the people who worked on Concord. It's sad that the game isn't doing well. Imagine making a video and it only has 5 views. I mean, I was there. I'm established now, but when I did a video, no one gave a shit because who am I? Nobody. But yeah, if you are a dev and you put out a video for Concord and you get 5 views, that's definitely not good. I didn't know that, Sith Lord. So thank you so much for the info. But Korkenstein, let's get your take on Concord and the fact that it's already being proclaimed as DOA.
Yeah, so what you see me looking is I'm looking up on Twitch right now. I know it just released today, so I'm not sure if it's fully out yet, but it's currently sitting at 700 and I think 59 viewers across Twitch as a whole. And it's sad, as a former developer myself, especially when you spend 8 years. This is 8 years of your life that you've dedicated blood, sweat, tears, literally. I mean, countless hours away from family, away from friends. You've missed birthdays, you miss, anniversaries, you miss holidays sometimes. Trust me, I was working pretty much 7 days a week, 16 hours a day when I was working at Electronic Arts, and it's insane. And to see it release in this state, it's soul crushing. It really is. I feel horrible for the devs right now. To be honest, I'm probably going to buy it just for that reason. Just to kind of give them some,
Well,
at
you're
least
supporting
something.
the devs, brother. Good for you, man. That's
Yeah, at
excellent.
least something, because I know what it's like, and it's rough. Yeah, I'm looking at it play, and it's just, yeah, the characters just, I don't know, just don't seem original. I still hold by my original thought process on this. Is I think, Sony was like, yeah, we got this great thing with Marvel going on. We got Spider-Man. We're gonna got Wolverine. Hey, Marvel, how about we do a hero shooter type game? And Marvel's like, well, about that, and here we have Marvel Rivals. I think they kind of had to curveball pretty hard, and by then you already have character designs, probably animations already done, things like that, and it's not hard, it's not easy to just redraw these things, reanimate, give these characters a story, a backstory. What they look like has to match their character development, has to match their narrative, things like that. There's little things that people don't pick up on us. They pick up on subconsciously, but not as like an active thing when they see somebody. It's just, yeah, I really hope it does well. I'm hoping Sony Sony drops its pride. It just throws it out the window. And they just, what? Hey, we want to support this game. We want to give the devs a chance. Let's put it free on PlayStation Plus. And if you guys want, we'll introduce microtransactions. I think it's great the route they went. I think that's very admirable. I think, it's a decision they probably made 8 years ago. And who knows, when you're developing a game for 8 years, you have no idea what the gaming landscape is going to be 8 years from now. I have no idea what I'm going to be doing 8 years from now. And it's just very difficult to kind of get that scope and really foresee that far into the future. So with that said, yeah, I just, I hope Sony drops its pride. They make it PlayStation Plus, free for those users, and they bank on and microtransactions, because they really need it. Overwatch King, I love Overwatch. It's one of my favorite games, and it's free. I've spent hundreds of dollars, probably thousands of dollars on Overwatch stuff from 1 all the way till now. And it's it's just great. And you're not gonna go to bat with an unknown IP against a monster like that. People aren't going to waste the $40, or I wouldn't say waste, wouldn't spend the $40 to see about a what if, and especially when you're getting reviews like that, it's going to be hard for somebody to really be like, okay, I'll purchase it, So it is what it is. I hope the game does get a second breath of fresh air, hopefully in the next month or two. I do really want it to do well, but we'll see.
Well, here's the thing. Sony proved me wrong, and I'll say that live on the air. I thought, based on the previews, based on the general consensus from not us. I mean, there were media personnel that were like, yeah, this is not good. And of course, obviously, the beta did not. The numbers just weren't there. I thought, like, Destruction All Stars. Remember that was a launch title for the PS5.
Mhm.
That was a $70 game. And right before launch, they're like, "Hey, everyone, this game is going into PlayStation Plus." And I played it. I actually listen. It wasn't terrible. It just was like Twisted Metal meets Fortnite. It wasn't bad. I played quite a bit of it, as a matter of fact. But that was, again, the temperature of the room was super low, and they're like, if we try to sell this, it's gonna die. So we're gonna throw it into the service. We're gonna get people to play it, and there you go. I honestly thought Concord was going to be announced as either a change in heart or a change in fiscal direction. Hey, free to play, or it's in the premium edition of PlayStation Plus, and they didn't do either, which I'm very surprised. Now, obviously, if, let's say, for instance, a week goes by and you have a concurrent number of 1,200 people playing this game across Steam and PS5, they're gonna have to make a move. And what that move is, I don't know. I don't know, because the game is what the game is. I'm sure that there are already plans to further add development to this game in regards to characters, new weapons, new maps, all of that stuff. I'm sure all of that's in the pipeline already, but I don't know what you do if your initial launch is flatlined. Like, I don't know how you fix it, to be honest with you. So again, it's one of those situations where a game has been in development for as long as it was. Sony changed directions in regards to their ideology of, just single player story driven narrative games to gas, having to get rid of, Jim Ryan and obviously his ideology and go back to making first party single player games, but in the same time, still having gas games. See, and that's the thing. Everyone gives Xbox a lot of crap for, the route that they went, and it took a long time for them to get where they are. But they're hitting on all cylinders. They have the gas games, they have the IP, and of course we saw June, their single player lineup is just unbelievable. So they really do have everything. Sony is still in a bit of a tailspin, in my opinion, but we'll see. We'll see what happens to Concord. I don't think it's going to it's going to do the numbers that it needs to do, just based on the reception from the gaming press. And I mean, today should have been a celebration because the game is out and nobody is talking about the game. That's how you know there's a serious problem. Let's get into the Starfield stuff, because this is a game that obviously is something special. It is special on so many levels that we can spend 35, 40 minutes just talking about how special it is. And that is just removing any of the nonsense conversation about, it being a 7 out of 10. It's not a 7 out of 10, folks. This game is special. It is a special Bethesda game from start to finish. It is probably one of the best new Game Plus titles ever released because of the variety of what you can get. I know of people that in this community that have beaten it 10 times, and each time they've beaten it, some of the stuff that and again, I won't spoil it for you. Some of the things that I have heard on how it turns out, how it starts, is so monumentally different from the initial playthrough that it's mind-numbing how incredible this stuff is. Well, we obviously had the update with the X, I believe is it the X8 or the X6 buggy. Now you can fly, because obviously the thing has jets. You can shoot because you can upgrade it. It has guns. You can even drive on water because it's amphibious, which is dope. I see a lot of people using it. Shout out to Ham Solo. He was flying around and shooting up a bunch of people. I haven't played it yet. I downloaded the update, but I can't get into too many big games. I'm just right now enjoying a very old game, and Alien Isolation. I'll get to Starfield eventually, but obviously the update is the update, and somebody has already made a Warthog, which is dope. So you can go and you can download the Warthog in your creations, and well, now you're driving a Warthog. This community, when it comes to what they do for Bethesda, is just, it's unmatched, man. They just do such amazing things. But obviously, Gamescom was a big reveal for a lot of things, and I want to thank Kami or Okami 13_ on Twitter. There were a lot of people that put posts out, but I like Okami. He's a good dude, and he's content creator like myself and many people on this panel. And he put a real quick bullet point of what's happening for Shattered Space. And I got to tell you, folks, it almost seems, based on the information, we're gonna go over it, almost like its own thing. Yes, it's part of Starfield. Yes, your character that you have, or your characters that you have, are going to be a part of it. Great. But the way that it's being broken down here sounds super special, like really, really something cool. So here are all the details. And once again, shout out to Okami 13_ on Twitter. He says this: Shattered Space is going to have a sci-fi horror vibes comparable to Fear. Holy shit, are you kidding me? Yes, and yes, please. Combat intensive with bigger focus on close quarter action. Oh my God, yes. Self-contained plots on a handcrafted location, which means that this is going to be a looker. It's again, handcrafted, meaning that it's what you're going to get. There's no procedurally generated stuff like Starfield is on some of the planets. This is being made for this DLC. This is going to be special. It says here you get a chance to visit the homeworld of House Varun, where space has literally shattered. The planet has more alien feel. The atmosphere is comparable once again to Fear, and it's releasing this year, September 30th, on Xbox and PC for $30. Sign me up. I'm take my money, please. This is exciting, Fuzzy. Again, for a game that a lot of people poo-pooed, a lot of people had some very disingenuous takes for a lot of reasons that weren't about gaming, that were just about personal agendas and biases. And of course, it's where the hashtag Xbox tax comes into play. It is unbelievable that this game is going to be a year old, but to celebrate that year old this September, you're getting a new DLC that seems like I know that when you talk about DLC specifically for Bethesda, a lot of people use the Far Harbor for Fallout 4 as like the shit. I have never played that DLC. I gotta play it. I want to play it before I play this because apparently it's that good. This is from what people have told me about Far Harbor. That is what this new DLC sounds like. I love the fact that it is going to be handcrafted. It's going to be a tight narrative, and that gives them, the team, an opportunity to really put the screws, so to speak, to how this game is going to look. I think it's going to look probably the best thing on Xbox, just based on the fact that you don't have to have procedurally generated planets and aliens and characters. This is the game. This is the DLC. What are your thoughts on the reveal?
As far as the reveal, it's pretty much everything we've all been asking for as far as additional content, and to have the vehicles just prior to the release of that gives us time to get used to how they act and traverse over the ground as well as through water and things like that, as far as like being an amphibious vehicle and stuff. I think the big thing now is this will hopefully give some insight to both the the modders out there that are looking to make like their own little storylines and things, which I think there's one now that's kind of like a puzzle based one called The Escape or something like that. So seeing that these handcrafted expansions can be built, and we already know that they are working on another one shortly after this one. Hopefully it's in a year's time, maybe a little bit longer, give or take. But I'm looking forward to it, just because the House of Varun was one of those few factions that you would come across that you couldn't join, and having being able to interact with Andreja and go through different missions was a different approach in comparison to like Sarah and the rest of the crew and stuff. So looking forward to it. But I think the big thing now is that all of these updates just prior to this expansion, like you have 60 frames on the Series S. Like people before were like, oh, it's a potato, it's holding back gaming, and yet this game or that console can play this game in 60 frames, which is an accomplishment in and of itself. To have it where this, even with the procedural generation and stuff, to have a game that this large, that you can have a focus on one planet for a storyline, and there's there's not necessarily millions, but there's like I think 1,000 planets or something like that in the current solar system that we're able to explore and stuff along those lines. So that gives you the opportunity to write nearly 1,000 new stories and things like that from a modder standpoint. But just everything I saw from the unveiling of the vehicle to more of the screenshots and things like that for, or not screenshots, but like some of the scenery for Shattered Space. Right now Diablo is the go-to game, but it's going to get put down probably by the end of September because of this. So definitely waiting or kind of trying to space out how I play these games. Like Division is on the back burner until we hear either Division 3 or until I feel like going back to it.
I
But
feel like the Ubisoft is messing that up, but that's enough for another podcast. Yeah.
no, but yeah, Starfield. Even for those that want to still say it's a 7 out of 10, this has got to be the most popular 7 out of 10 game in the history of gaming. Like,
Yeah,
I don't think there's
indeed.
ever been a game that's gotten that low of a score that's on everybody's, lips kind of thing. So I don't know. It must be something special for this to be a 7 out of 10. I mean, if it was an 8 or a 9 out of 10, I think we'd be hearing about how the economy is tanking because everybody's productivity at work is in the toilet because they were staying up late to play this game still. So, but 7 out of 10, I'll take it. It's been a blast to play. And it's like I said before, it may not be your generational game, but 10 years from now, there'll still be people like myself still playing this and trying out different mods and things like that. So I'm definitely looking forward to September 30th.
I mean, listen, what they've done with this post-launch, you have to admit, is what people expect from Bethesda. The mod support has been nothing short of astounding. The content that is available for you that you can go and look for and get for free, by the way, is just limitless. It is so much out there that you could make this into a literal Star Wars game and it could never again look like a Starfield game. It's unbelievable, and they allow you to do that within the game and on console, no less. You say on PC, you're like, yeah, well, PC, that's what PC does. But to be able to do this on console, where there's every mod you could possibly imagine, it's pretty impressive. And what I love about this DLC that's dropping on September 30th, Korkenstein, is that it's this self-contained story within the overall story of Starfield. And I like the fact that when they specifically made mention of it and they focused on the handcrafted aspect of this development, I think that's going to be a really big deal, because as great as Starfield looks, and it looks, I mean, look at the screen, folks. This is 1080p that you're getting, and it is what it is. With the software I have. But you got to admit, when you put this on your TV, and you got a powerful TV like I have, it's stunning to look at, regardless of how many people want to pile on it. But when you start saying, well, this is a self-contained planet, it's a self-contained story, everything is handcrafted, meaning the creatures you're going to see, meaning the NPCs you're going to go up against. I freaking love it. The House of Varun is we don't know much about it, and I think that starting there is a really big deal. Again, shout out to Okami13 for putting this out there, because again, this is all the information that's come out of Gamescom 2024, and I gotta say, I absolutely love it. Now, there's some people in here saying that they wish that it was part of Game Pass. You still get the 10% discount, I believe. So it's probably going to be $27 for you if you have Game Pass. I mean, I don't mind paying for games. This is additional content. Yes, I'll gladly give them my money, because that's what you want. That's what happens with these single player games like Fallout, like Elder Scrolls. In order for them to be made and live beyond their initial release, there needs to be additional DLC that you can sell and get people back in the door. And I'm all for it. Again, this is a business, folks. Like everyone always says, it's not show friends, it's show business. So there you go. So I don't mind spending the $30. It is not a problem at all. I'm looking forward to this. When I can pre-order it, I'm going to immediately pre-order it. I don't know if you can do it now. But Korkenstein, let's talk about Shattered Space, because again, we're not even a year removed from Starfield's initial launch. That happens, the 1 year anniversary happens in September of this year, and they have done so much work to this game. It's unbelievable how much this game has been updated, and now we're getting this massive fear level game. Who doesn't want a new freaking Fear? Well, you know what? I do. But when you start getting comparisons to Fear, and now you're talking about that Fear, that peanut butter is going to be in my chocolate, which is Starfield. Yes, please. I'll take it. What are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I mean, I've had Starfield installed on my PC since day one, and it hasn't left. Haven't uninstalled. I play it every now and then, jump in and out of it. Yeah, I honestly can't wait. There's so much that it's just only Bethesda can really do, and just make the modders, the content. Like during E3, Cognito sent me a video of the Mandalorian mod. It looks absolutely amazing. Just really cool stuff. And I just can't wait to get my hands on Shattered Space and jump back in, just like Fuzzy was saying, for a game that got hit, with a 7 out of 10, and got, ran through the mud a bit, people are still using it to SEO scrape and get the engagements. You'll see the same people that dog it will also be like, well, here's a guide on how to do this. They're still posting about Starfield, and that just shows how absolutely amazing a game it really is. And it's only going to get better from here. I mean, look at people are still playing Skyrim. Just like you said, 10 years from now, there's going to be so many mods. People are still going to be playing. It's honestly gorgeous. The lighting update that they did earlier in the year looks great on it. Just everything about it. I haven't been able to try the new vehicles yet. But I'm hoping once I finish Outlaws, I'll jump into Starfield, do another playthrough, and then get ready for Shattered Space. But I honestly can't wait. It was probably one of my favorite games that came out so far. Definitely in my top 5 for last year and this year. So yeah, I'm excited, really excited for it.
Yeah, and again, at $30, that's, I mean, almost all of the expansions that came out. Now, again, I don't think you have to pay for it if you bought the deluxe edition. I believe that's part of it. So you don't have to buy it. I got that I actually was able to review it thanks to Bethesda. So I'm in, I got the DLC because they gave me the deluxe edition for review. So if you bought the deluxe edition, you don't have to buy it. If you only bought the regular edition, then you got to spend the $30. But I think that considering what we're hearing in the background, how big this expansion is going to be and how detailed, I think we're getting something super special here. I actually can't wait. This is a great time, regardless of the naysayers for Xbox. There is a lot to get excited about, especially if you are a Bethesda fan, especially if you are of course, Starfield fan. But let me catch up on super chats, gentlemen. There's quite a few of them. And then, of course, we will get into a topic that we're going to spend some time on, because there's no one more excited for a new Obsidian game than me. And Avowed looks like it checks every box possible. We're going to open up with some of the back end controversy. With the developers confirmed for right now that it is 30 frames per second. I have a theory and an opinion on why I believe you're going to get your 60 frame mode in February, but we'll get to that in a second. Let me just catch up on the super chats here. And we have, hold on just a second. The first, because I read Sith Lord's member chat. JJ saying 117 drops a very generous $5 super chat. And JJ goes on to say, "Hey, Boom. Sorry you had to deal with all the mess this week. I've always loved listening to your podcast since the ABK merger. Xbox is still cool." Brother, that's very kind of you to say. Look, I don't shy away from controversy. I hit it head on. This week was a lot of peaks and valleys for Xbox. I am not a doom and gloomer. I'm not leaving the box. I'm not selling my X. I just bought a new $600+ Series X. Which is the 2 terabyte one coming out in October. And I don't make an apology for it. If you don't like Xbox anymore, I hear you. Go to PC. That's where they want you to go anyway. I don't want to go to PC, and I'm not going to go to PC. I'm going to play on my Series X as my main, play on the Series X in the room when I have to. And when I'm traveling, I'll take the S with me. That's fine. I have no problem with that. There is going to be another piece of hardware. In fact, there's going to be 2 of them. You're going to get your handheld. You're going to get your next box, which is going to potentially be what a lot of people, I've been banging this drum forever, ever since I heard the rumor that the next Xbox could potentially be this magical, PC box that just looks like an Xbox. You have your Steam store on there. You have your Epic Game Store, and you can play all those games, and you can play your Xbox games, and it's going to have a universal UI that looks and runs just like it does right now. You hit the power button, you get the Xbox splash screen, and all your shit is right there for you to go. And of course, those two things are going to be apps. You press the app, go to Steam, press the app, go to Epic, and go right back to Xbox. It's a wonderful thing. And I think ultimately that is where they're going to go, because that's where the market is going. Right? That is where the market is going right now. But thank you so much for that. Super appreciated. Kale Walker, hey, thanks so much for becoming a member once again. We super appreciate the generosity. And Shine Films has been a channel member for 11 long months. Shine Films, thank you so much for the crazy support. He says the Xbox stream is showing Avowed gameplay right now. It looks great. Yeah, you know what? Like I said, I looked for any footage whatsoever, and the only footage I was able to find were two people, Paris Lilly and Danny Benya. They had some footage and an interview which ran about 30 minutes for Gamertag Radio. They interviewed the developers, and it was awesome. It was a great watch. Unfortunately, it would be very difficult for me to slice up that content to put it together where it's just gameplay. Well, Destin Legary of IGN did a great job. Now, again, I look, folks, I get it. If you don't like Destin, I hear you. I'm not going to fight with you. Have your opinion. But I have to give credit where credit is due. And the only place that I was able to find actual footage that gives us like some really meat on the bones was the footage that was put out by IGN. Now, it was edited and it was produced by Destin Legary. He does have the voiceover. It's 8 minutes and 34 seconds, I think. And I do want to talk over it. I want to play it right now. And look, the game looks absolutely freaking phenomenal. It's Obsidian, and the game has been cooking for a minute. It is so different and so much better than its original showing, where everyone would, like, even myself, I was like, yeah, the combat seems a little, it's not punchy enough. They've addressed all of it, man, and it looks really good. So, of course, before we get to the footage, I do want to kind of just touch on the confirmation that it's 30 frames per second. I want to get the chat's opinion, and I want to get the panel's thoughts on it, because yes, it's 30 frames. This is what they said they wanted to do. Now, I know there's a lot of people that are gonna be like, oh, but you know what? The Series X can do better. Absolutely can do better. And I really believe in my heart of hearts, even though they won't admit it, I think that the quote unquote delay to get out of the way of all the bigs in 2024 was to give the team the chance to put out the 1440p 60 frames, because that's exactly what it's going to launch with. And again, that's not a confirmation. Please don't twist my words or clip me. I didn't talk to the developers. It's just my sound opinion that I think that because we are sitting where we are in August, the game showed super well, right? They have 6 months to make a 1440p 60 frame performance mode, which I believe it's going to have. Now, I don't have, again, that's just an opinion, and I could be 1,000% wrong. Fuzzy, let's get your hot take on this, because obviously, once again, a game 30 frames is, not what people wanted. They explained during the interview that this is what they wanted. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, because I'm not a developer, but the game looks stunning. They were very, very pointed in their opinion that, listen, this isn't a multiplayer shooter. This is a first-person, story-driven game, which is why we wanted detailed animations, detailed magic, detailed worlds, and maybe that's what they wanted to do. What are your thoughts on the 30 frames?
I think we've seen 30 frames at launch a number of times, to the point where 60 frames eventually comes.
Yeah.
I think as long as it's as smooth as the way, what do you call it, Starfield released, where that was a smooth 30 frame setup. So I don't remember people complaining about getting headaches or nausea or anything like that because of the frame stutter or anything like that. So as long as it's as smooth as what Starfield launched as, I don't think there'll be any problem. For those that want more frames, they're probably already on PC at this point, which I can try this on my console and probably be fine with it at 30. But if I'm looking for all the ray tracing and all the eye candy and stuff like that, I'll probably fire it up on my PC as well, much like I did with Starfield. Played it a little bit on console, then moved over to PC, and then because of the mods, pretty much stayed on PC. But it looks fantastic on console as well. So I don't have an issue with it. I think as long as the game has the time to be polished, looks great. Like the trailers we've been seeing more recently, and I've said this before, every time we see Avowed, it looks better and better each time. So whether they're polishing or tweaking a few of the animations or just the environments and things along those lines, I'm fine with it being 30 at launch, because we'll probably hear either at launch come February, oh yeah, by the way, we do have a 60 frames mode, or 6 months later we'll have a 60 frames mode, or they'll probably at least on the PC side of things, that will be the easier 60 frame mode right from get-go type of thing. But yeah, as long as the game looks great, it's not a competitive shooter, so it's not as important, but I can understand for those that do want 60 frames, and that was the hope and dream for this generation of games. And as time progresses, we are finding more and more of them at 60. It's just not at launch. So I would say play the game, enjoy the game, and probably by the time you're about halfway through, there'll probably be a 60 frames patch, if not at launch, because it would be hard for them to say, oh yeah, we're targeting 60, and then come launch, it's like kind of like what Redfall. It's like, oh well, by the way, on the box it says 30, or no, on the box it said 60, and they launched it at 30. So I think it's their safer bet while they're polishing. If like for what people were saying about Starfield, for that game, as massive of processing power that game requires because of the procedural generation and space exploration and all that stuff and persistent world, to get that to 60 frames, I don't think this will be too much harder than that to get to 60 frames. Although keep in mind, it just the visuals for the magic, the lighting, the shadows, the biomes, all of that stuff is definitely taking up some processing power. But yeah, I'm pretty confident it'll be within a year's time at 60, but it's not going to stop me from playing it. And I always look at it as, if it did give me a headache playing it on the console, I'll fire it up on PC. I know not everybody has that option,
Right.
but I don't think that was as big of an issue with Starfield at launch either, where people were fine with 30. They made a bunch of noise beforehand, and there were people legitimately upset about it not being 60, but a lot of those same people also played it on PC. So I don't know. It all depends on what you have available, and I would say the enjoyment of the game, I don't think will be hindered by the 30 frames as long as it's smooth.
Look, I'll say this, Fuzzy. A lot of the noise, and again, don't get offended, people. A lot of the noise that we saw with Starfield and that we're seeing with Avowed, which again, it's 6 months out from release, folks. The game looks and runs phenomenal. Watch the videos. It looks freaking amazing. There's no cope, right? There's no cap here. It looks freaking awesome. A lot of the noisemakers, the rattlers, if you will, play on PC. Like, that's their main. But yet they want to come out and they want to put on posts. This is unacceptable. Don't speak for me. I'm the console guy who doesn't give a flying shit about the FPSs. I just don't when it comes to single player games. That's different from multiplayer. Multiplayer is 60 minimum, and I'm so used to 120 with my TV that it's very hard to go back. But this game is a single player, story-driven narrative game. If you play on PC, worry about your rig, and you'll be able to play it at 60 there. I'm not making excuses. I play plenty of games that are in 30, and it runs great. And like Starfield, it's 60 now, but it ran at 30 at launch. I didn't care. I didn't have a PC. I wasn't out there crying. I enjoyed the shit out of this game. So much so that, and again, mind you, I'm a small fry. I put 5 days into this game before I beat it. Now, again, that's peanuts to some other people. perfect example, Fuzzy, who has 172 days in that game. So there you go. Korkenstein, before we show the video and we get our takes on what's been shown by Destin Legary, of course, of IGN, and I do want to get into that in a second. I do want to get your thoughts on the 30 versus 60 for now, because again, the developers said this is how they built the game with 30 in mind. Now, I again, it's just an opinion. I think that the delay, even though they are right to delay it because it is going to be a very packed fall, making it, or at least potentially giving gamers who want to play it in 60, a 1440p 60 mode seems doable within the time before the game releases, especially being as polished as the game is. And again, I'm not a developer, but you were. Let's get your hot take on this.
Yeah, so you and I talked a little bit in the green room earlier about this. So usually frame rate, FPS, those are usually decided early on in the designer process. It helps you scope out what you're going to design the game to be, what features you want included, how detailed the textures, things like that. It opens up a whole world of possibilities. And this is also something that, like I said, this game, I'm not sure exactly how long it's been in development, but, if you have another 5-6 year, kind of development window, you had to pre-plan this 6-7 years ago. And that's where a lot of this issues usually come from and why we're not seeing such a heavy focus on the 60 frames per second. And to be quite honest, most casual gamers, which make up majority of the market share, they don't care. And it seems kind of weird to say that. We are the hardcore gamers. We are the ones that are invested in these games, these platforms, these consoles, these ecosystems, whatever you want to call it. We're very invested in it, so we're a little bit more knowledgeable about how what we want and how these things are coming out. And that's where I think a lot of us kind of forget how much of a representation of actual consumers. Most of the casual gamers, they just want to play Fortnite with their friends. Madden, they want to play Roblox, Minecraft, Call of Duty, whatever it may be. Just like Boom said too, this isn't a competitive shooter. There's no real reason other than, for that right now, at least from my eyes, why you would need mandatory 60 frames. Do I think we should have options? 100%. But those will come with time. And that's something that you can always go back, because what you end up happening, let's say they did try and shoot for 60. What you'll end up happening is a cyberpunk situation. You end up trying to push that limit of what you can do. Things are now getting cut that you promised. You start putting things on the chopping block to meet a release window. Meeting a release window is already hard enough as it is. It's very stressful, very time consuming, but now your game isn't where it's at. And that's also another thing too, is when you apply for certification through Microsoft or Sony or whoever you're going to be using, you have to meet a certain frame rate per second average. And if you don't meet that, it fails certification. So that's another thing you have to worry about. There's a lot of things that go into frame rate per second and what it is, and what they want to do with it that are a lot of people don't actually realize. And that's why I don't think it's a big problem. I think a lot of people right now are just, harping on 60 frames because it gets an engagement. I feel like a lot of that what it is, but most of the casual players, like I said, you tell, 60 frames per second, they're probably going to think, is that a new currency in Fortnite? They don't care. And it's a little upsetting that such a big deal is being made about this when, most of the people don't understand why these decisions are made. But yeah, that's how I think I like it. I like it at 30. I think it's going to be fine at 30. It looks amazing at 30, just like Fuzzy was saying. Starfield, that was 30, and the technology behind that, where you leave like a sandwich on a planet, go 3 or 4 planets away, come back to that same spot, the sandwich is there. That kind of technology is amazing.
Crazy.
That you wouldn't get with 60 frames per second possibly. So you don't want to overload a system. Again, if you want these crazy graphics, you want these really fast gameplay, spend the $3,000, $4,000 on a high-end PC. You guys got to remember you're getting into an entry level kind of ecosystem of a console where it's not going to be able to do what a 4090 can do, especially when something that was designed 4 or 5 years ago. So, have some patience, have some understanding, I hope. But I don't think, 60 versus 30 is that big of a deal right now. I think coming into next gen, especially with AI, I think if developers now finally can't start hitting a consistent at 60, we have a huge issue. That's a big problem because we're hitting things like frame gen, DLSS, things like that are going to be coming standard on consoles probably sooner or later, hopefully. But we'll have those kind of things implemented that should help developers and give them that extra boost to hit those frame rates. So if we're not hitting that on the next console, I think that's when it's a little bit more cause for concern and where it's a little bit more warranted.
And I don't think you're wrong. Listen, let me play the footage. And again, it's 8 minutes, folks. So we'll do a little talking over it. But I want to show you what I saw, and I've watched the video now 3 times. I thought it was very well done. And listen, I am an Obsidian fan. I cannot wait for this game. Here we go. Let's play this bad boy. There we go.
Avowed was a surprising delight to play for the first time. After a lot of questions about the shift in art direction from the teaser trailer, questions about the length, and a combat demo on the Xbox stage that had many asking if the game was earlier in development than expected, I'm happy to report that Avowed is feeling great, looking great, and offering a compelling story based on the early slice I got to play at an Xbox event. Just a real quick note on this footage, all of it was provided by Microsoft, so I'm gonna have to do my best to edit this video while describing my own gameplay session, which looked really good, so I'm very confused as to why we weren't allowed to capture, but alas. My journey began just after the opening main mission in Avowed, and we've been sent on a task to find an expedition team. It turns out, as it often does in RPGs, that fate had other plans for them. Kai, our green-skinned companion, who just happens to be voiced by Mass Effect's Garrus Vakarian actor, Brandon.
Now, granted, you got to remember, folks, this is running at 1080p for the software. It is obviously compressed, so it's not going to look as good. I say go watch it in 4K like I did. And again, if you don't want to watch IGN, I hear you because I normally don't watch that stuff, but when there's a game that I'm interested in and there's only one place to watch it, I'm going to go and watch it. The detailed world looks phenomenal. And again, I hear the detractors. If you don't want to play this at 30, then don't play it at launch. But I really think that this is what they're aiming for. I think that with a delay, it's going to have a performance mode. I mean, we all said the same thing about Starfield. We all played it. I can't say we all played it. I played it. Loved every second of it at 30 frames. The 60 frames is great. Yes, no doubt about it. But I think we're going to see 60 frame 1440p mode by the time this game launches next year in February. Now, Silent Cypher, who wasn't unfortunately not here to join us today, says he believes that you should delay Avowed until it can be released at a 1.0 build that includes options for people who have 30 or 60 FPS with adjustments as necessary. If early 2025 can't get you there, delay it further. And of course, that's the way of a $10 super chat. So thank you for the generosity, Cypher. And you know what? I'm going to pose that question to you, Buzzy. Do you think it's possible that a further delay is necessary to get it to... Basically, would it be a mistake to launch it at 30?
Obviously, fire an Icy's Kai teleport to the target and then unload a powerful bullet into the spike.
It would be nice if they had that in the marketing from jump, because they haven't.
During that time, I've been closing the gap, and as I was using 2 weapons,
if they didn't already make the February time frame, I would say you know, that would be the way to delay it. Would be based on that in February. But as far as since they already announced it for February, I mean, unless they're right on the cusp of having it for 60 and they just want to surprise us later, at this point, I would say don't delay, but I could see why many would say delay it until it's complete, until you have that full 1.0 where it's 30 and 60 as the option, like a lot of the games eventually wind up being. But I know the publisher side of it, they're just going to put it out there at 30. That will be acceptable. The only way that things like that change is if us as gamers unite and stop buying games that are launched at 30. But with Game Pass, that kind of you're not necessarily buying it at that time. I mean, you can definitely purchase it later, which at that point it'll be a deeper discount by the time it's at 60. But EA gets away with this all the time. Ubisoft gets away with this a lot of the time. I think publishers just look at the loud vocal minority of enthusiasts or hardcore gamers as just being loud and vocal and not what their sales numbers show. Like when people tried to say, oh, let's boycott Call of Duty, when they had like that the space version of Call of Duty and it still sold over 11 million copies in a couple of months. It's like they're not going to delay. If I was in charge, every game would be 60 at launch, and I wouldn't make an announcement on dates until I know we're within 2 months of it being able to go. But that's a totally different strategy, which unfortunately none of these publishers are really following these days. But for me, I wouldn't delay, but yeah, I can understand why people would say delay until it's complete, until it's a 1.0, 60 frames, 30 frames, ray tracing as an option, toggle switch or something like that. But then again, usually when you do that, you have other things come up. It's like, oh, well, we could add co-op, or, oh, we could add this. Oh, we could. And then you have feature creep delaying the game, an extra 6 months to a year. I mean, it may very well be the case with like Grand Theft Auto 6, but we know that one's going to come out probably at 30 regardless. So,
that's going to be a 30 FPS. There's no doubt about it. Yeah. I mean, listen, great points all around. Corkenstein, let's get your thought on that. Because Fuzzy brings up a really good point. It gets delayed, right? It gets moved out of 2024, which is fine. We're going to have more than enough to play. I'm saddened by it, but truth be told, there's a lot to play. And there are a lot of big games. Star Wars Outlaws is one of them. This is another. You got the Starfield DLC. There's a lot to sink our teeth into this fall. So this being pushed out is really not that big of a deal. But he brought up a great point. So you specifically say that we're releasing it in February to have a concrete date. Boom, this is what it is. This is what we're doing. What are your thoughts as a former developer where Fuzzy says that maybe they picked that specific date and they're not going to delay it for a 60 frame mode because they're potentially on the cusp of getting that done? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, that could definitely be a possibility. I don't think it needs a delay. I think if the game plays well at 30, like you said, this video's obviously compressed. It definitely will probably, especially in 6 months' time, like I said last time, you remember about how much a month or 2 months can make a huge difference. Look at where we're at now. We're seeing it's almost totally different kind of looking game based off of, those few months. And, it's only going to get better. That's the better part about this. So does it need to be delayed for 30? I don't think so. We'll have to see how it actually plays once you get it in your hands and you start playing with the game and seeing, okay, does this feel good at 30? Like I said, Starfield felt great at 30 for me. But everyone's different. And like I said, they want to hit the casual market first. And if it's, running horribly at 60, they don't want to have that lasting impression. And like you said, this is the great thing about Game Pass. You don't have to play it on release if you really don't want to. If you want to wait for a 60, wait for the 60. There's plenty of other options. Indiana Jones, like I said, Star Wars Outlaws. We're going to have no shortage of games on Game Pass to play. And if 60 frames is something you really want, you aren't spending $1 on it if you're sub to Game Pass pretty much, as you would like maybe buying a full price game. So it's not bad. I don't think it needs to be delayed. If you think it needs to be delayed, you don't have to play it day one. You could delay it yourself and wait for it to hit that spot. But I think
Great
it looks great. I think it's going to feel great from what I've seen. And that's just, my thing. I know it's not a popular opinion, but that's just kind of what the truth a little bit is.
I mean, listen, we all want games to be what we want games to be. I'm not making excuses for Obsidian. They said, and I'm literally reading verbatim, that this was the choice from inception. Why? Well, I don't know. Maybe you should ask them. Maybe you should DM them. Maybe you should write them an email. I don't know. What I've seen, I'm good for. I'm playing on console. I don't play on PC. Like I said, I could have a $5,000 rig right now in front of me. I'm not playing there. I don't care to play on PC because of all of the nonsense that goes behind it. Now, sure, you can fix it and get it working like Everborn Saga has done, where he has a very expensive PC hooked up to his TV, but that works for him. I don't want to be bothered. I want to play on my console. Maybe I'm a normie. I don't think I am, but that's where I want to play. It's fine. I have a banging TV that has every bell and whistle you could possibly imagine, and every game I play, whether it be on PS5 or the Series X, look phenomenal, and the Switch as well. Switch is the Switch. But I'm also in the camp with you, gentlemen. I don't think the game should be delayed. But I'm kind of starting to think, and I didn't actually think about that, Fuzzy, about maybe they specifically picked that date because they were potentially on the cusp of getting that performance mode. Because the performance mode wasn't at launch for Starfield. And how long before that happened? What, 4 months, 6 months afterwards? Look, again, I think Korkenstein he's simplifying it, folks, and I agree with him. If you want to play it on, if 60 is a must for you as a gamer, then you're probably already playing on PC. If 60 is a must for you as a console gamer, then you can wait. I'm not going to wait. But then again, the game is still 6 months out. They could, and I believe they will, opinion, folks, mine, and I could be wrong, that they're going to have a 1440 60 performance mode. Again, that's just my hot take on it. We'll see whether or not that happens. But what I have seen has me super, super excited. And of course, once again, you got to give credit where credit is due. That video that you saw that was 8 minutes and 36 seconds, I did clip that from IGN. And of course, that was edited and of course voiced over by Destin Legary of IGN. And I'm just, if I'm going to use the stuff, I got to give the proper credit. I very much enjoyed the video. I enjoyed the commentary, and Destin wasn't the only one saying that they were impressed with what they saw, that it's turning out to be something super special, and it's Obsidian. If you don't have confidence in them, I can't make you, but I have confidence in Obsidian, and that game looks dope. I freaking cannot wait for Avowed in 2025, and hopefully they'll figure out a performance mode, and everyone that is complaining now will forget all about it like they did with Starfield and play it in 60 frames when it's available. But let me catch up on some super chats, folks. This is, again, a relatively smaller show because obviously it's just the three of us. Next week, we're going to have a couple of guests. Obviously, we'll have everyone back here, but we also have One Bad Mother is going to be joining us next Friday morning, which is great. I can't wait to get his hot take on, well, whatever the news is going to be. But of course, let me just catch up on super chats. Jax82 drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "Hey, Boom, he goes, I'm sorry, Boom. It was more of a choice on their part than they couldn't get it to work. They said we don't need it. They don't need the 60 frames that games come. Yeah, I saw that interview. That's worse than can't." The video that I saw with them explaining their choice was, this is their words. From inception, they wanted to do 30 because they wanted detailed magic, characters, combat, and world building. Is that true? Well, shit, I couldn't tell you because I'm not a developer. If that doesn't fly for you, then don't play the game. And I say that to everybody. Not talking to you, Jax. I'm just saying that as a general consensus. If the 60 frames at launch, and again, we are assuming that they're not going to have it. The game is 30 frames now. The game has been delayed by 6 months until the first quarter of 2025. We're still in August of 2024. They have some time to make adjustments. I think that is why it was delayed. So again, hopefully they'll have that fixed and ready to rock and roll when it launches in February. If not, then I'm sure it's going to be a conversation that we will, of course, we'll have. And if you're disappointed, please come here. You don't have to drop a super chat. You can simply just be in the chat and be like, yeah, I don't like it. Boom. I'm angry. Okay, we'll have that conversation. For me, not downplaying it, it doesn't matter. I played through Starfield from start to finish. I put 5 days in there at 30 frames, and I could give a flying shit that it was in 30 frames. It did not bother me at all. But that's me. Every gamer has a different opinion, and yours, including yours, Jax, is valued here. So if you don't like it, I'm not going to fight with you. I understand. But, you know, I know somebody in the chat said that Xbox should take off the 60 frames per second on the box. They have plenty of games. They have more games that run at 60, even 120 frames than just a handful that don't. The pros outweigh the cons by leaps and bounds. It's when people want to. The one thing that this community, unfortunately, or the gaming community, and it's not a brand rated opinion that I'm saying. It's just gaming as a whole. When they want to gnaw on something, it's like a rabid dog on a piece of meat. They get on it and they just don't let it go. And if that's your shtick, I hear you. I'm not going to fight with you. I'm going to play it at 30. I'm going to play it at 60. If I have an opportunity, I'll play it at 60. If I don't have an opportunity and I have to wait for 60, I'm not waiting for that game. I'm going to play it at 30 and enjoy it just the same. It's not going to bother me. But then again, I'm not a PC guy. So if you're a PC guy or gal and you have the equipment to run it at 60, which you will be able to, maybe even more than that, then that's what you probably should do. Then once again, Jax, thank you so much for the super chat. Simon Brandy drops not one but two £5 super chat, and he says, watching Tim Dog speak to Fonz reminded me why I always remain Xbox. A shame he flipped because he's an important voice for Xbox. He will come around. Look, Tim is entitled to his opinion. Tim feels betrayed, and it's not just the game's going. It's a very, very deep rabbit hole. I'm not going down it. Tim is a grown man. He made his bed. He's going to have to lie in it. Abandoning Xbox, that's his choice. He's playing on PlayStation. He's loving it. Okay, that I play on PlayStation, and when I play on PlayStation, I absolutely love it because I'm there for a specific reason, and whatever that reason is, I'm enjoying it. He's no longer, he fell out of love with Xbox. Such is life. Will he ever come back? Did he ever leave? I don't know. I mean, I know Tim. I have a cell. We've talked on the phone many of times. But you know, he did a lot of brand damage to himself. And again, it's one of those things that sound repetitive, but you know, you made that bed, you got to lie in it. If you don't like it, I hear you. But I'm not leaving Xbox because games are going to other platforms. I have Game Pass. That's my exclusive. That's what I have. That's why I love. But that's not the only reason why I love Xbox. It's not about saving money. I like the ecosystem. I like my friends list. I like my achievements. I like the controller. More first and foremost, ease of use for me is why I love Xbox. So you know, again, it's up to him. Simon drops an additional £5 super chat and he goes on to say, the premium Indiana Jones has 3 days early access. I was tempted, but pre-ordered the standard version instead. It's 3 to 5 months earlier than PS5. Yeah, I mean, PS5 gamers are going to, again, help. I've said this before, and I'm not being scandalous. I'm being straight up honest. Every PlayStation gamer that buys this game, I'm going to pat you on the ass and send you on your way, because you know what? You're funding the next Machine Games title. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And in regards to the premium, yeah, 3-day early access. Look, I'm hoping I could review it. I don't have that confirmed. I'm going to give it the old college effort. I was able to review Starfield, well, I hope I can even review Indiana Jones. It is my most anticipated game of 2024 for a multitude of levels. Simon, thank you so much for the 2 super chats. Super appreciate that. So, ladies and gentlemen, look, we're closing in on the 90-minute mark, and that's what this show has become on most of the channel, because it's the summer. We don't want to get in your way of your enjoyment of the summer. We may go back to a longer show in the fall, but I kind of like the 90-minute shows because it does give us an opportunity, especially when we have the smaller panels, to hit 3 heavy topics, spend 30 minutes in each topic, give our opinions, get you involved in with the chat, and have a lot of fun. Hopefully, ladies and gentlemen, you had enough fun to hit the like button. That helps more than you know. I hate having to keep saying it. And of course, if you're finding the channel, I saw a lot of new names here. Please consider subscribing. I do live stream Monday through Friday, and I do have plenty of breaking news specials. But Korkenstein, brother, let's sell your brand. You have some stuff going on. Obviously, you had to take some time away from the show to handle real life, but you're going to be back in September full time, and we're very happy for that, because obviously you bring a wealth of not only gaming and gamer information. You were a former developer yourself, so having you on the podcast is a big deal for me. Sell your brand, brother. Where can people subscribe to your YouTube channel, and more importantly, follow you on social media?
Yeah, so on Twitter or X, I'm the Korkenstein. On X, so you guys can find me there. Like you said it perfect because of work, being on this overnight. This is why my beard is just grizzly and out of control and nasty looking right now. I've just been working a lot of nights, so I'm on a hiatus for a lot of content creation stuff I had planned. But if you want, it would be appreciated. We have Game Pass Gumbo, which we used to do weekly. We're going to get back into that on Saturdays, hopefully Saturdays and Sundays again. Basically, we talk about a game, and then we talk about food that is with that game. So like I said, Assassin's Creed Shadow, we did that one, and it's was about Japanese food. For Call of Duty, when it releases, we push back. We're going to eat MREs on the show live.
You're not gonna like them.
Yeah, I've been hearing that
right now. They're nasty.
I've been hearing that, and but we just want to see, So food plays a very important part in a lot of different cultures and things like that, and especially in gaming as well. So it's 2 passions I love. I used to cook as well. Used to work in the kitchen. So it's awesome. So please, Game Pass Gumbo, check us out.
I'll say this about MREs. If you're dying of hunger and you're gonna die if you don't eat, or you're gonna live, you're gonna scarf that down like it's Thanksgiving. But if you had a choice and you're like, man, ham sandwich sitting over here, that looks really good. An MRE, put that MRE right in the garbage. Because yes, you're not gonna like it. It's just awful. But Fuzzy Belvedere, let's sell the brand of not only you, but your wife has an absolutely great new horror podcast. And you know what? I don't know if you've talked about Alien and Romulus. I'm going to go see it next week. Wow. It's getting unbelievable reviews. Even better news. Did anyone raise your hand, folks, if you saw the movie Prey? It's on Hulu right now. It's one of the best Predator films in the series. Obviously, nothing outdoes the second one. For me, the follow-up is Robert Rodriguez's Predators. Phenomenal film. Prey comes at number 3. Well, both of those directors, the director of Prey, and of course the director of the newly released Alien Romulus, want to work together to bring us an official Aliens versus Predator. And again, the first one that was done by the guy that made Resident Evil was really good. The second one was egregious. It was just freaking terrible. So if the directors of Prey and the director of Alien Romulus get together and they have this alien predator baby, it's going to be something special. But let's talk about not only your wife's new podcast, which is going to be live tonight, I believe. You also have your own YouTube channel, which we're trying to grow. And it, of course, is the best place for anything and everything in the racing genre. You're on many other podcasts as well you're on Twitter. Tell everyone where they can subscribe to your YouTube channel, but more importantly, follow you on social media.
Well, just want to thank you, Boom, for having me on. Always pleasure to do this Breakfast with Boom with you early in the morning. Glad we had Korkenstein back here this morning as well. Always appreciate his takes and feedback and like deep dives into like from a developer's perspective on some of these gaming topics. So it's always a pleasure to hear. Thanks to everybody in the chat for joining us. Greatly appreciate you guys taking the time to join us. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't already. We greatly appreciate any of the above for you guys to take that time to do. Thank you again on that. For those that want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming related, just follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at @fuzzy_Belvedere. And like Boom said, plenty of podcasts out there. Going to be on my wife's podcast, Fright Night with Ferocious Fee at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight. I put the link in the chat. Just check us out. We're going to be talking about a vampire movie called Bitten. Not a big, screen type of movie, but still a pretty interesting vampire take nonetheless.
Okay, that was gonna be my next question. It sounds like a vampire film. Well, you confirmed it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then later tonight on Xbox Ultimate on Fun Speculations channel at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight. Looking forward to talking about like this weekend game or Gamescom and Xbox in general. So definitely check that out. Shop Podcast on Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight, or Saturday night, I should say, on PTK Blam's channel. And then on Sunday, me and 3-Bit will be doing Pixelated Echoes at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday night. And then hope to see everybody that's in the chat here today, right back here on this channel for 12 noon for Xbox Lunch Break Special. Look forward to seeing you guys there. Thanks again.
And thank you very much. Super appreciate you guys being here. Shout out to all the people that checked out today's show. Please, again, before you get on out of here, hit the like button, hit the share button. Obviously, if you want to share us on social media, Mrs. Boom and I would be greatly appreciative of that. A big thank you to all of the super chats that came in. I see you, Il Ray Tito. He says, anyone know how Concord is doing? It's not doing well, my friend. It's just not doing well. And nobody's hate wishing the game to fail, because then if the game fails, people lose their jobs. Nobody wants to see anyone lose their job. But that's a horse of another color. Again, thanks Joe for being here. So Joe Dunmore, appreciate you. Again, thank you to all the super chats that have come in. Listen, again, they help more than you could possibly imagine. On the front end, of course, with the giveaways, but there's a lot of back end stuff, especially when we need new mics or we need new lighting. And again, I'm not an artist, so I can't do anything that's on the screen. I pay someone to do that. Sean LeBrie's the best in the business, and well, his services aren't free, as they shouldn't be, because he is a phenomenal artist. But look, great show, 3 topics. Gamescom is still going on. Lots to talk about. We're gonna I gotta curate everything that's happened in the last 3 days, especially for Xbox, because this has been a heavy week in both negativity and excitement, at least for me. And Mrs. Boom and I want to wish everyone a great weekend. Enjoy gaming on whatever console you enjoy gaming on. And of course, we're going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. We'll see you next week on the newest episode of Breakfast with Boom.